Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
And it's now 6 p.m. We're meeting tonight in the Rockingham Town Hall Lower Theater, and there's a link for Zoom for those who wish to attend that way. We first need to meet as the Rockingham Board of Liquor Commissioners. We have 7 items to discuss. Everybody have that information?
Yep.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the liquor licenses as follows. Joywa Restaurant, first class liquor. Penguin Mart 2 LLC, second class liquor license. Walgreens 19223, second class liquor license. Lazo's Pizza Palace LLC, first class liquor license. Halliday's Flowers and Gifts, second class liquor license. Falls Country Club Inc., first class liquor license. Joywa Restaurant, third class liquor license.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve number 1, Joywa Restaurant first class liquor license. Number 2, Penguin Mart 2 LLC second class liquor license. Number 3, Walgreens number 19233 second class liquor license. Number 4, Lazo's Pizza Palace LLC first class liquor license. 5, Halliday's Flowers and Gifts second class liquor license. 6, Bellows Falls Country Club Inc. first class liquor license. And number 7, the Joywa Restaurant for a third class liquor license. Any questions? All those in favor would signify by saying aye.
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 Passes. Now I'd like to call the meeting to order. Are there any additions to the agenda for routine administrative matters and/or pressing matters that will require ratification at a future meeting?
Thank you. There were, I think, some items that I had distributed this evening on the dais and some items that we had sent electronically. 2 things that we're asking for consideration. One is 2 vacancies currently exist on the Rockingham Historic Preservation Commission. The coordinator, the chair, had asked if we could appoint 2 individuals for the balance of the term, and that those terms would expire at the town meeting, and then they would be eligible for reappointment. That was one item that was not previously identified on the agenda. The second being, I have a resolution of support when we do discuss the agenda item for the Better Places grant, and at that point, I'll ask the board if they would approve a resolution of support for the grant, since the grants are due at the end of this week on Friday. Those are the only additions at this point.
Well, I had that Historic Preservation Committee designation as number 7.
I'm gonna do that resolution as 8.
Well, can we add that resolution to number 6?
6A. Yes, you could just make it 6A since it's requesting an action. Normally, it would have just been informational, but since I'm asking you to at least
Okay.
support the resolution, we should probably make it an agenda item. Thank you.
All right. Any public comment on items not on the agenda?
I don't see anybody online.
Okay. Moving on, managers report.
Thank you. 2 items, and again, this is, one of them is a second time we've gone through dates. Just the clerk had asked that if people are interested and want to run for office, they don't need petitions, but they will have to sign a consent form. Those forms are due in to the clerk by January the 25th, so that deadline is approaching. So if someone is considering taking that step, they need to get that information into the town clerk by the 25th. The second item I just wanted to review prior to our budget discussions. The last time you had formally reviewed your fund balance policy was in March of 2016. At that point in time, the policy that you had established for your unassigned general fund balance was between 16 and 20% of expenditures. That was your goal. So as we discussed this evening, our proposed budget numbers, just wanted to let you know that we are in fact going to meet or exceed those targets, and just wanted to do that as a point of consideration as we go forward and get into the budget discussion. So those are the two things that I had. Thank you.
Okay, item number 1 on the agenda says approve budget.
Thank you. So we'll go through, basically, you'll have in front of you, and I'll ask you to sign later on this evening, the warning for the informational meeting. There's some dates on here that I think we want to just reiterate, and we will make sure that we try to publicize as well. First of all, February 18th, there will be an informational meeting. It'll be it's a Thursday at 7 o'clock. We'll also have the ability for people
So
to.
Scott,
I'm sorry.
that's okay. The warning is a separate agenda item. So the first one's just the budget.
Right. Okay. All right. So we'll go through the warning.
Sorry.
That's fine. So we'll skip over the warning. Just it has dates and times that I think were important to people, but we'll do the budget, then we'll go back and do the warning. So based upon your guidance at the last meeting, we talked about a level funded budget. Shannon and I went back through both general fund as well as the highway fund. We looked at areas that there were any considerations, a couple of items that we highlighted on here based on our discussions that were large dollar items that we want to make sure that you were aware of. We had removed some COVID related expenses. We had removed some monies that we had originally allocated towards the collection of tax sales. We added an additional $45,000 for town hall to the town hall for repairs and renovations, and we'll talk a little bit later on when we talk about the town hall roof on where we are with some of that. We talked about the development director position and that we will be making
I'm sorry, guys. I think you're muted.
Yes, I hear you, but I don't hear them.
I think they do need to unmute.
There we go. Can you hear us now?
Yes, we can.
Oh, did it mute itself? Okay.
It was, so I think the last gentleman that joined might have muted us.
Okay, got it. And so the last item that was a highway funded item was an additional $50,000 for the Depot Street Bridge expenses. So that brought us to a total number for our expense budget, as well as the amount that we were estimating to raise by taxes. As you can walk through, there's been a slight increase in the grand list. So you'll notice that there is a slight decrease in the amount of tax rate, even with this standalone budget. We have a slight use of fund balance, and as the memos were attached, Shannon and I had gone back through, and we feel pretty confident that even with this use of fund balance, where we currently stand in this current operating budget year, that we feel pretty strongly that we'll be able to add to fund balance, as you can see by the memorandums in both the general fund from savings of $165,000 as well as in the highway fund from additional savings of roughly 100,000. So and those are very conservative numbers. We think we can come in better than that in terms of our final operation. But given those targets with a standalone budget and a reduction in the tax rate, we feel fairly confident that this budget meets all of your operational concerns, addresses some of your capital concerns, and gives you some flexibility as we go forward, that if we're, again, better than budget, we can discuss additional types of programs that you might want to consider, whether those would be additional capital programs or other types of items. So, Shannon, do you have anything you wanted to add to that? It's a general summary. I know we're sort of running through numbers.
No, that's a great summary. Again, our fund balances are extremely conservative. So even with using fund balance for the paving article, as well as transferring fund balance to help supplement the general fund, we will be well within our limits. And as you asked, they're both level funded budgets. And we will be able to get everything that we need to done. But as we discussed previously, if we remain in a pandemic and for any reason we need to cut costs, we will do the same as we did this fiscal year and remain well under operating budget if needed.
Shannon, I'm looking at your notes. There says summary changes to proposed budget. You got that?
I do.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. It says remove 50K in COVID expenses, but I think there were some numbers in the either the period 5 or something that we had expended some for that.
So everything that we have spent for COVID expenses and far more we have recouped in the ledger grant. So for instance, in addition to all the salaries of myself, both chiefs, Chuck Wise, we were all reimbursed for all of the time we spent during the pandemic, which I think was a matter of about 4 months. And then in addition, the sludge dryer, remember how we thought our out-of-pocket expenses for this fiscal year might be reimbursed? They were as well. So there's a number of items. So in doing the budget, the revenues will offset the expenses for anything COVID related.
Okay, yeah, I remember we talked about that last meeting. So, okay, thanks.
We got that check, Peter, at the end of December, so we have not broken out those allocations. So once we get that, we'll adjust the.
Yeah, I remember talking about that.
Yep. But the good news is we did get a substantial amount of money back. And I got a solicitation today from the state. They're asking for additional information about other arrearages that people might have with utilities and other things. So my guess is they might be doing another round of support of some sort. So we'll keep in touch and let you know how that goes as well.
And I would understand that in reference to the sludge discussion, that's on the village, for the village.
The sludge specifically is on the village.
Right.
But there's other expenses. For example, we did some upgrades to the HVAC in this opera house that would be part of that ledger grant was reimbursed.
Yeah.
Which will then give us some additional funds to do some additional work for capital. So, yeah, overall, again, Gary Fox did a tremendous job. It was a very painstaking process, and his energy and effort really paid off. That was quite a nice end of December surprise to get that back from the state. So,
now I know, if I may mention here, since we're in the budget discussion, I had mentioned it numerous times about the lighting. At one time, there was some mention of possibly some grants. Or a grant to do with the lighting down here.
In this room.
In this room, yeah.
We have a host of interior projects that relate to the lower theater as well as the main theater. Mm-hmm. And a lot of those are going to be tied to the discussions on the theater lease. Those are going to be picking back up in March. So I will have a host of items that we'll be discussing in future meetings as we prepare for that.
Okay.
So there will be some follow-up on that. I have not forgotten that, Stephen.
No, that's all right. I just thought I'd mention it, and
nope, it's still out. It's still out there for future
it may be
conversation.
before you arrived on scene that we had some discussion on, in the event we were still in a pandemic state, what may not happen with the theater
Right.
or the operation. So,
Yeah, we had slowed down the lease conversation, obviously, at this
Yeah.
point. It doesn't appear that we're going to get serious about public assemblies of any large amounts until the summer at best. And
Right.
the longer the inoculation process drags on, the farther out that target moves, so.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Scott, could you give us a little information on that town hall repairs and renovations for 45K? I don't know what you got up your sleeve on that one.
Which one are you referring to,
That-
Peter?
So we added those additional
Right.
funds, which will be part of the roof discussion later
Right.
on the agenda, but there is some needs for the building, but Scott can elaborate on that.
Right, so we'll get into some of the detail. We have some work that has already been contracted for the roof that didn't get completed from the summer. We have proposals for more comprehensive work on the roof that involves drainage, as well as there's been some proposals to do some brick pointing. There's been additional work we have to do on the windows, which we had discussed at the previous meeting, and I have a follow-up meeting about that this week. There is some money already allocated for that. Once we get through those discussions, then I think we added the 45,000 as a placeholder, Peter, just to see where we're going to be, what the appetite's going to be for specific projects. And then if we want to go forward with additional work, as Stefan had mentioned, there's some additional interior work as well. We can certainly work into those numbers as well.
Jan, did you get that note I sent you on the email? I'm not sure if I copied Scott on that, but I had 3 or 4 different questions on there. That was one, the union negotiations and the unsafe building.
So, yeah, I had put in 0.02% for an increase. I did not go back and take out because we're talking about pennies on the dollar for the local 98. And we just won't use, we won't use them. But in the event we have any turnover, like we discussed before, we are literally budgeting to the penny, and it's just not a really good idea.
No, we budgeted 7,500 for the union negotiations. We just finished a 3-year contract, so I assume we're planning for the future, I guess, maybe setting money aside for the next round.
Well,
If it's unused, it'll just go to fund balance at the end of the year unless you assign it specifically to some other function. So it'll just help us with our overall performance against budget.
And that goes for the unsafe building because we budgeted 40 grand in 2021. We're doing another one this year.
Right. There are some issues with unsafe building. We do have some properties that will probably be coming back to you to talk about, at least trying to secure some places and board them up, working on a couple things now that hopefully we can avoid having to spend public money and get some private sector money involved. So I will be back to you at some point with some conversation about what, how we might want to allocate some of those funds.
So under highway, we probably aren't going to get one, but we're still going to apply for a paving grant just for grins and chuckles. We always do every year, no matter whether we get it or not.
Well, we got
But you never
reimbursed
know.
last year we did get reimbursed money last year.
That's what I said, and it's nothing. We haven't budgeted anything, but
No.
you can't budget. But
You
don't know
really
what you're
can't
gonna
count
get.
on it. We will submit. 'Cause
Okay,
We're
just-
planning on
just
doing
curious.
some work on, and, there'll be something there. We're just not sure from year to year what that number's. I think
Yeah.
last year's number was 30,000. It doesn't necessarily, change dramatically
Yeah, it doesn't do a
our
lot for us,
position.
but it gives us something anyway.
but we will obviously pursue that. And if we can,
Okay,
we'll get as much
yeah,
as
I
we can
always
get.
ask that question anyway. So
Yep.
Gaetano, I have a question. Going back to the executive assistant position, you said that you might have someone who's hired do many different positions. Are they all in the budget? I'm just not seeing where they're at.
Well, at this point in time, Sue, what we did is if we make a move with an existing part-time person, we have money set aside with the vacancies that we will just allocate towards the additional benefits and the additional hours. So we did.
For this year, though, but I'm talking for after next budget year. How does that work?
So Sue, if you look at page 4 of the budget for the assistant to the manager, there's 12,000 in there.
Yeah,
So that would be just part-time hours.
right. But what if it's a full-time position? Where's the rest of the money that would pay for that?
Well, we're not going to do that this year, given everything that we have going on. Scott and I discussed it, and we agreed that we would continue to maintain that position to some degree ourselves and bring somebody on hourly or part-time to help us.
Right.
Next fiscal year.
Next, and hopefully in FY23, we'll get back to a full-time, but just right now, given everything that's going on,
With a level funded budget, we didn't think it was really at the time to start adding positions. So I think we'll have to take a hard look at where we are in the next 6 to 12 months. And then as we sit on the budget presentation for that following year, hopefully we're in a better position with COVID and with a lot of other things. And then I think we might be able to have a more, at least a better understanding of how that's going to impact us going forward. So we'll make it work.
So is anyone like Shannon? I know you've taken on an incredible extra workload since being hired as the finance manager. I believe you're back to doing HR and probably doing most of the executive assistant. Are you being compensated for that, all that additional work?
no, none of it.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think we need to put it in as a full-time. I mean, I think asking you to do this for a whole nother year is not fair to you and to everyone else. I mean, I think you really need, I mean, I can't tell you how to run town hall, but I don't want you to not have the ability to have the funding in there.
Where's the 12.5? Where would the 12.5 go if we don't hire a part-time and you keep operating under current staffing levels?
Where would the 12,000 go?
12.5, I thought it was, yeah.
It would go back to the general fund.
It would just fall down to fund balance if we don't expend it.
So
And I guess, Gaetano, the other thing that we can do, and we had a very preliminary conversation, Shannon and I, this morning. You know, I do have the opportunity to provide a merit raise, and we had talked briefly as we were doing the budget, and Shannon was doing about payroll and 2 other things that we have to readjust where we are. So those conversations have started. We have not done anything formally. And I appreciate as much as you do, probably more, how much people have stepped up and done multiple things, so.
Well, I feel that the decision that they're making, Susan, is because they think they can handle it. But I also agree with you that she should be compensated. So they've made the decision to keep it at part-time or whatever that decision may be. But for the in real life, with more work typically comes greater pay. So. And then, you know, we have that one, I forget what it was, 130 from last year that never got spent. So that also went in the general fund.
The highway fund, yeah.
Highway?
Yeah,
The 130, yeah,
119.5, guys.
119.5.
Right.
right.
That's all I just wanted to ask. With your additional workload.
I think that Scott's got the right idea here, see how things work, and they've already had the discussion as far as the merit increase or whatever, so I think it is the manager's decision. They've got the 12,000 in the budget. If they so desired, if he so desires, well, then we don't have to worry about finding some money. It's already in there.
Right, there's monies available.
So,
And I do know that
let's leave it
long-term,
as
we'll be
laughing.
coming back to you as we
You
go
know, play
forward.
with numbers again.
Even as, items in HR pertaining to highway, I don't see why you couldn't use this fund we put aside, or that was voted in for ultimately staffing last year. If you need to,
Highway we're being a little bit more conservative with because we want to look at our equipment line and
Yeah.
how we fund equipment. And so I think we've been hopeful that if we come in better than budget, we can come back and talk about how we might want to do some stuff with equipment if we have additional fund balance. So that's something else that we've held out. And again, it's a conservative approach, but I think at this point, we're still dealing with a lot of unknowns. I think we're trying to be as realistic as possible.
Any other questions? Comments?
So I just assume going to the theater, if things don't work out with the lease, we have nothing even as a placeholder in there. So I'm assuming that if anything could happen with the cinema, it would be operated with money that comes in only. How would that how would you manage that when there's nothing in that? If the lease falls through for some reason and we
Yeah,
decide
so-
we have to open up the theater.
Again, given the current climate, for FY22, our plan would be that if it would need to fund itself completely.
Right. We would assume at that point that because there hadn't been any real expenses, they would have to come in with a plan that would be able to at least break even. And then we'd have to address some of the minor stuff that needs to get done prior to them reopening. A few electrical, a few things with the projection room. There's nothing of substantial amounts of money. So we could have all that up and running well before summer.
So going forward, the plan would be that lease company, RED, I guess they call themselves, is gonna have to run the theater and the town will not be running the theater? Is that the plan?
Or in the event we are running the theater, it would just have to be self-sufficient.
Yeah, I was just
Right.
trying to make that clear so the people on the outside, if they,
Right.
know that if that lease whole situation falls apart,
Right. If the
there's
not-for-profit
someplace
doesn't
they're gonna be
work
able to
out,
watch a movie anyway, and just so they know that it's, one way or the other, it may open, but it
Right.
depends on the situation.
yeah, we're still not, like I said, March is sort of when we're going to reestablish contact. We'll see where we are. And if we're not really at a place by June, we're back to semi, public gathering, then I think they'll have to get back together and talk about how we're going to finish out, the 2 quarters after that. So.
We need a motion.
Yeah, you got a motion to adopt the budget.
Yes.
Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we adopt the budget of $6,021,089 with the amount of $5,122,944 to be raised by taxes.
Second.
It equates to a level funded
What did it
budget.
say? What was the last number you said?
$5,122,944.
Motion has been made and seconded to adopt the budget as stated. Any questions? All those in favor would signify by saying aye.
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 Budget passes. Could we approve the minutes? It wasn't in
There's
the
nothing
thing.
on there, so, for action. We just got them tonight, so I don't know if you want to bother to. put
Yeah, I
it on
just
till-
distributed them to them. You could certainly approve them.
Okay.
I didn't know if.
We can
anybody
hold
had
on to
time.
them. We'll make sure we,
Get them next week.
January
Next meeting.
11th
Yes.
minutes.
Yep.
Number 2 item, it says here, set tax rate.
So Shannon, do you just want to walk through the numbers based on, what we just did with the budget? Because there are some other numbers that are relatively important with that.
Sure. So if you guys look at the tax rate setting Excel sheet that I printed for you, what we have here is our grand list for 2021 that actually increased slightly over last year. And then down below, what you're seeing is it broken out the expenses for this year, how much the expenses are and how much we're raising by taxes. So our current expense budget is $6,021,089, and we'd be raising $5,122,944 via taxes, which is a decrease in our tax rate by 0.0087.
Just a question on the motion. Do we make that motion pending passage of the budget? Because if the budget goes down, we're back here again and going at it with another number.
Well, you might as well set the tax rate, and then if the budget's voted or not approved, then we'll come back with obviously a new budget and a new.
Right,
tax.
we redo this whole process in the event that it's.
I think similar to, we just approved the budget, that's our duty. And if whatever happens voting, then we would have to go from there to approve, to set the tax rate now, and then to see what happens.
Because there are some variables here. As I stated in my email, the listers don't actually finalize their budget until April 1st.
Correct.
And then because your assessments go out in March, and then if you want to complain about them, you got a chance to appeal your assessment, and that could affect the grand list money.
Well,
Probably
yeah.
not significantly, but it may affect it.
Right, but you guys always set your tax rate now based on a preliminary number.
Right. And if that number obviously changes, then we'll make the same changes to make sure that we're raising the same by taxes. It might just change that.
Yes, because if you remember last year, we set the tax rate at 1099, and then at town meeting, they threw in the extra 119.5, and that raised it up to 110,
Well,
almost 11. So
This is not going to include any articles. This won't. But
I'm just making a point. That's all.
right, but this is the process. So we have an article to raise 22,000 for the meeting house, and that's it. That's the only article that would increase taxes.
Mr. Chairman, I move to set the town of Rockingham municipal tax rate as 1.0903 and accept the educational tax rates as and when they are provided by the state of Vermont for the fiscal year 2022.
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded to set the town of Rockingham municipal tax rate at 1.0903 and accept the educational tax rates as and when they are provided by the state of Vermont for fiscal year 2022. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes. Number 3. Need to go over this warning.
So I guess we jumped the gun a little bit earlier. Apologize for that, but we'll go back and just touch on some of the key dates. February 18th, there will be a informational meeting. People can attend by Zoom, as well as there will be an opportunity for people to come in person. Then there will be another meeting on March the 1st. And then we will have the meeting at 7 o'clock, and then Australian ballot start and beginning on the 2nd. Those are the key dates. There are a host of articles. I don't know if you want to go through individual articles or if you just want to, if there's anything specific that the board wanted to review based on, I think there's 15 currently.
So just to catch you guys up, I had made 2 small changes after I'd emailed you guys the final. The first one is I finished under Article 7, the Bellows Falls Community Bike Project. I only had Bellows Falls Community there, so I added Bike Project. But nothing of value changed. And then for Article 8, for the Rockingham Meeting House, what I had written originally was that it was going to be used for improvements this year. But what we would like to do with those funds is put them in the Meeting House Capital Reserve Fund. They used up the majority of the 66,000 that we had saved over the last couple years last year. So they're just trying to rebuild. We don't have anything substantial planned for FY22. So those two changes were made.
I have a question with number 6 and ultimately number 10, I guess, in reference to this morning's article that I read in the Brattleboro Reformer. I'm a little confused.
So Article 6
Are there
is,
petitions? Were there petitions that
Yes.
would affect number 10?
so there was a petition, and they had enough signatures. So what they'd like to do is, this year everything's Australian ballot. They would like, going forward, every year for their library vote to be Australian ballot. So this year the residents would vote whether or not they want it to be Australian ballot going forward.
I didn't bring a copy, but those were received and certified by the clerk.
Is there another petition they had? Something about,
Those were the two that we had received.
We received the one about the level funded budget, raising the 379,250 in taxes, and then the Australian ballot. That is all we received, town clerk and town hall.
this is the same one, right?
I don't believe so. I think there were two separate ones. I think one was just the amount to be
Two
raised,
separate.
and the other was the request for Australian ballot. But Kathleen had received two. They were both certified, and so she did give us copies of those. I just made a copy of the top pages. I didn't do the whole.
So let me ask, if I may, for clarification. In the event this board was to accept, say, the petition reference, and I haven't got to look at it yet there, but establishing to vote on that budget every year by Australian ballot, would that, in my opinion, that would tie a future board's hands, whether or not a board elected to do otherwise or to put it on by Australian ballot themselves without the petition. Is that correct? If I interpret that correctly?
Well, it gets a little complicated because there was approval through this most recent legislation, right, that you could do an Australian ballot across the board
Right.
for this current budget year. I don't know what the impacts are for future years. They're requesting it for future years, and I'm not sure how that would be impacted by this request.
I don't, me personally, I don't have as a selectman a problem by Australian ballot
Right.
this year. But I don't want to tie a future board's hands as to what they may or may not do or how they elect to do. Whether there's something's done similar to what happened in, I believe, Woodstock with the select board in the library, or I just don't want to limit a future board from having discretion to do one or the other.
So at what point do we accept or deny these petitions?
Well, the petitions, as far as I understand, are due and valid. So if you wanted to make a change, we would have to do something. The latest we have is to the 28th.
I think you have
For the
to
warning.
adopt a signed petition that's been authorized as legal, because this is asking for particular action.
Right.
It's the resolution ones that, that we resolved to, move the nuclear plant from Vernon down to Massachusetts or something like that. That you can decide not to put on the ballot. But I think this one has to go on.
As it stands, the article in regards to their budget and the amount to be raised by taxes and the article regarding the Australian ballot, those have to go on legally as they got enough petitions.
Right.
Shannon, question. I'm going to put you on the spot now because it's a question that comes up every time. If this
Zoom it anyway.
library budget is voted that way, and even if it's town, why is it, I guess, included in the town budget? If it's an article, then I would think we need to separate it out going forward. Is that correct? Or am I kind of just?
It is separated out. It's just a transfer number from us to them. It's just a line item to transfer the 379, 250 to be raised by taxes.
Yeah, okay, because as Stefan was talking, he's tying future hands of future boards. Well, Article 11 does the same thing by voting the town budget the same way. So, 6 1 half dozen the other, I guess.
Yeah. I realize in reference, Peter, to both of those, it basically changes how you run or what would be for the people to say at town meeting.
Correct. At least for 22, and then my guess would be you'd have to come back if you were in a different position and we were no longer in a COVID world and you wanted to go back to a traditional town meeting, you'd have to have another item,
Right.
another article to go back to a floor vote or
Mhm.
what other proposal would come forward.
And that we'd have to do that in 2022, so it'd take effect in 23.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So, has to be done a year ahead of time, that's all.
Right. So,
Oh, boy. So.
But at the moment, the second petition is not in the warning, is that right?
No, they're both
I
on
don't see it, or am I missing it?
one is,
The
I'm sorry.
Article 6
Cut off
and
and
10,
Yeah, it would be Article 6, which is the taxes, and then Article 10, which is.
in your email, Susan, they didn't come through the second half.
Did you see the email I just sent you to your personal email?
Yeah, I just got it.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, but I thought there was a different
There
petition.
was a write-up in the Reformer. However, Town Hall and the town clerk's office did not receive anything in regards to that.
Okay, all right. Just the one about
That
them
was
wanting
my,
it to go to Australian ballot after
was-
this year.
Yes.
Two.
that was my question.
Okay.
So there's two in front of us here, Susan,
Yes.
and they're both about Australian ballot. That my question was about what I read in the paper, which appears to have not been accurate. So I'm looking at the two petitions we have, and
Well, I know they were gathering those petitions. I know they were gathering signatures, but I guess they didn't submit it to Kathleen.
I'm all in favor of the library
Okay.
going Australian ballot.
So do you need a motion to get this morning discussion on the
Yeah.
budget?
Any other questions with what's printed here with the corrections? Susan, you have the full version now?
I do have the full version, but I mean, when the language of it isn't very clear that this year we will vote Australian ballot for our budget.
Second paragraph, I think. Maybe voted
No.
upon
Second
Yeah.
paragraph, where?
the top of the warning.
Yeah, so I put, the legal voters of the town of Rockingham and town of Rockingham School District are hereby notified and warned to meet at the Town Hall Auditorium in said town on Monday, March 1st at 7 PM to act upon all matters which may be voted upon by Australian ballot at the Masonic Temple in said town at 8 AM.
I think Sue's referring to Article 5, that maybe we should add the wording that this is, article shall be by Australian ballot. Is that what you're trying to say, Sue?
You want specific language in the
Yeah, I
article?
mean, it's just unclear to me.
Well, that's up to
I
you
think
guys.
so, because normally,
Says it at the top.
Yeah, I would read it in the first, I
because
started-
it says which may be voted, which, shouldn't they shall be? They're all being voted on by,
Well-
the whole article, the whole thing is
Right, it should
Right.
be a
being
shall,
Australian ballot, right?
yeah.
Which shall
It is a
be
shall.
voted.
Shouldn't it say which shall be?
But it starts off as shall.
Which shall be voted upon.
Right, yeah, you gotta change that may to shall, I think.
May is like either way.
It's just when I read it, it wasn't clear to me that we were all, everything on this warning is being voted Australian ballot. And I think other people would have that same
Yeah,
problem.
I think
Yeah.
we need,
This is exactly why so many eyes need to review it. So I changed that wording at the top. And what I'll do is I'll send this to Scott to send up to print so that you guys can sign with any changes that are made. So I removed the word may and put shall.
On the second paragraph, correct?
Yes.
Right, right.
Yeah,
That's the only change.
So
Okay,
far.
that's right. No, I got it. That's fine.
Listen, I'd be happy to catch them now, not later.
Does that cover yourself on that? Does that cover you, Sue? Is that?
yeah, that's fine. It's just, I mean, we're gonna have to do some education about it too. But when I read the warning, it just didn't come across very clearly.
Yeah, get a press release out too in the paper, because those are free. Get it in the shopper and that everybody gets in the Reformer. And maybe even the Beagle, if
all
there's.
right, so with the changes, we want to approve it,
That would be great.
and then we'll
Yeah.
sign it. We have one here, but it's not accurate, so we won't sign this one, but we could approve it right now.
okay, Mr. Chairman, fellow board members, if everyone's comfortable, I'll make a motion. Okay, I'll make the motion that we approve the annual warning for the town of Rockingham for the informational ballot, informational meeting in Australian balloting and articles with the change as highlighted here tonight.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the warning with the changes. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes to approve the warning with the changes, with the change. Thank you, Shannon and Scott, for all your work getting this information, getting that done.
I appreciate the board's work as well. It was very,
Moving on to number 4, we need to finalize the date and process for the town meeting. Seemed kind of
When do you
clear
want
in
us
the
to sign this warning.
warning.
Right.
right.
When do you want us to sign it?
Well,
I mean, I
before,
think we could sign the back page here.
It's here now,
you can
the
strike.
copy
strike
he
it
wants.
And just initial shall, and then you guys can all sign it.
We have a
Yeah.
copy here to sign.
So
Okay.
That's the only change, is that.
If you do that in
Change
front of us,
shall.
I'm ready to sign this one.
Right, I agree.
Okay.
Okay, so then we need to talk more about the town hall roof.
So we gotta do the first, number 4.
Isn't that listed pretty clearly in what we're
That's
signing
I-
right
I
now?
would-
Yeah, so there was a couple of things, if you wanted to push the meeting, what Scott and I had kind of heard from you guys was you were still looking to hit the March deadlines. So we put that in the warning in the event you do, because you are able to push it a month. And then whether you're going to do it by Australian ballot this year, which again, in previous meetings, we felt that your opinion was to move to Australian ballot this year, given that we could. So these are all just things that we had heard from you guys. If you wanted to change any of it, this was an agenda item to allow you to do so.
So how are we gonna do the meeting? Are you gonna do it, where are we gonna do it? Are we gonna do it in the Opera House? And if we're doing it there, how are you gonna do Zoom?
We are going to do it there, and you can leave the Zoom up to me, Peter. I got it under control.
I figured that, but I was just asking a question.
I don't,
I was gonna
isn't it,
say, because Gary
be on the
mentioned
big
something about
screen?
putting it on the big screen. I don't know how that's gonna work, but it'd be nice, but anyway.
I mean, isn't this, all this information listed in what we just signed? I'm confused. We even have Zoom meeting numbers.
Yes, so this is, like I said, so Scott and I took the information that you guys have been talking about. You seem to all come to a consensus, so we
Just-
put it in the warning. We just wanted to give you one more opportunity. If you wanted to change anything, advance the meeting 1 month, hold it only via Zoom, nothing in person.
We just signed it. We just signed that. We just approved that warning with the date, time, and type of meeting and style and location.
Right, that's what I'm just saying. We put this on in the event you didn't, you'd then have the opportunity to adopt it.
Right.
Okay.
In case we had to circle back, it was just as a placeholder, but since you had approved everything, there was
Right.
probably, we can strike
I
it.
think we're good with it.
Yes.
Now, if we, Mr. Chairman, if we may, before we get into this, the municipal manager had mentioned that there was some work that hadn't been yet completed or was yet to be done up on the roof.
Wait,
Yep, that's it.
are we're moving on now?
Well, I thought we were, but,
Me too.
Yeah.
Number 5.
Yes, so
Let's let him go first and then we'll.
okay.
I just handed some information to you. The first item is a July 17th proposal from Jones Brothers, which talks about a small repair on the roof. It's not a large repair, approximately 18 square feet of material. That job has not been completed. I want to just give that information to you. And then the larger job, which is the second piece, which starts on the 2017 email, which shows the larger area. This is again an older proposal, but this is a full replacement with a new membrane, some additional walking paths, some additional improvements to the drainage. That proposal would obviously have to be updated, but that was just the scope that I wanted to show to you as to what else has to potentially be done. In 2018, that proposal was roughly $120,000. Most of the time, this work doesn't go down in cost, it goes up. So we can expect that, we'll be in the neighborhood of 120,000 plus, depending upon where we are.
Where's that?
Materials.
I'm sorry, the first portion, this first cover letter here?
The first page is just the work that was a small patch and repair
Yeah,
job.
that's not done or is
That has
done?
not been completed.
But we've signed contract?
Chuck did sign this in July,
Okay.
so that
There's
is,
$128,000.
no, not the 128,000. This one
I
is only for
understand.
13.5.
And then where's the bigger job?
And the bigger job starts then with an email from January of 2017,
It's on the
I had-
backside.
and then has multiple pages. That's
There's
the,
several different companies.
right.
Well, there's one, Melanson is the 17th that I'm looking at on the back page.
Then there's another company.
Right.
And then there's
I'm
another-
not mentioning
So,
companies' names.
right. So the third proposal, if you look at, has some pictures and some additional detail that also goes to the total number at that time. And again, these are old numbers, so you'll have to do some updating at a full membrane and some walk pads as well. This had a 15-year warranty on the EPDM on the roof itself, or 20, and so just looking at that going forward, that's why Shannon and I decided to put the additional money in. We're going to have to redo the scope on the roof once this repair is done. And we'll be back to you in the spring with the full, a project ready to go out for bid that will include the total amount of membrane that has to be redone. I think the walk pads make a lot of sense. That helps us in the future so we don't have penetrations. It will also address some of the areas where we've had some concern around the drainage, which has been a big issue, trying to keep those drains clear. We've had some problems with that going forward. So there's some opportunities to redo the drainage, which would be very beneficial as well. And then do some additional flashing in areas where we think we might be getting some leakage. So that
This is
will-
on the upper part,
yes,
just so I'm clear, the lower portion, the first 13.5 number is the last section that hasn't been repaired with 1-inch insulation under it. Because I've seen the slips for the remaining portion of that, and I'm not sure what, I find it extremely hard to believe that you need to spend $128,000 on that upper portion to repair rubber membrane roofing, or apparently do away with all of it and flash over some items. It seems absurd to me.
well, that was the scope that was, the last time we had numbers. So
I think we
just
should
wanted to
get-
give that to you for your,
A different scope of work.
yes.
That material is meant to be repaired, and it should be a 30-year product. Not sure why it says it's a 15-year product that's on the upper portion.
I think they only warranty it 15 years depending upon, and I'll have to read that proposal in more detail.
Right here, it's the new EPDM that this company's proposing.
I've never seen a roof in less than 20, so 15 was an odd number to see.
Comes with a 25-year manufacturer warranty.
Right.
Nowadays, they have lifetime asphalt shingles. I mean, anyways, it seems we need to update that
Yes,
scope of work and then get new numbers.
so we will get the other, the July work done, and then we will come back to you with a full, I tend to agree. I think there is a way that we can go and approach this without doing a complete tearing out of the old membrane and a overlay of a new. I think there's a way that we can do this. And I think that we can also do the flashing work, do the walk pads, and a few other items that I think will improve our longevity on our roof as well.
So I wonder where the report is that cost the taxpayers $70-something thousand a couple years ago, remember?
Yeah. Was it 70 or was it 20?
I do know where that is.
So that was a lot of money to this engineering firm who did a complete evaluation of the entire roofing system. It would probably be helpful to find that and take a look at that. And probably in there, they may have information regarding the resurfacing of the deck. We're not interested in running engineered lumber to put 6 inches of insulation on the roof, as we've previously discussed. But that report seems valuable, and we've already spent a lot of money on it. Maybe we could find that and take a look at that and see what they had for recommendations for the roof surface, not structural below.
I'll send that to the select board and the manager as soon as I finish payroll.
Wasn't it 70,000? Somebody said 30, but I'm pretty sure
I
it
thought it was
was,
20.
I'm pretty sure it was,
And I thought they came in with an estimate of
Nope.
approximately 120
no. To do the job,
to do the job.
700 and something.
That's included all the, yeah, you're right. I think you're right. The higher numbers,
I
right?
remember that
Included
clearly.
Everything in the, redoing the whole roof and everything,
Oh,
lumber and everything, yeah. Redesigning. how their slope was and all that stuff, so.
I don't think we want to redo the roof, do we, to that level?
This was all for, they wanted to put 6 inches of insulation on the roof.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm no energy person, but if you feel like you're losing that much heat out the 4th floor of a brick building with non-insulated windows, perhaps there's other areas to look at. But that
seems-
because of it would carry all the snow load, they wanted to
Right.
re-engineer the roof system.
Right.
And I said, that's bizarre.
Well, we'll take a look at that, but I guess that seems like a larger project than what we were entertaining.
Great, I agree.
There's a second piece to this, and I'll do. This is not related to the roof, but it's related more to the exterior and just the general maintenance of this building. So there's a couple items on here. One is the repair of the clock tower that we had previously discussed. There's also some additional brick pointing that was pointed out that would be an item that we'll have to take a look at as we go forward. Again, these are issues of trying to build, maintain the structural integrity of the building itself. These aren't huge items, but just so that you're aware. These are the types of things that we could entertain with some of that $45,000 that we had discussed. And then as we approach the roof, and we'll come back to you with a series of recommendations in the spring for possible work over the summer. I think by then we'll have a better understanding of where we are with our performance to budget, and we might be at a position there where we could actually do an appropriation and cover those extra costs with a job that's not as comprehensive as the $700,000 job that Gaetano was talking about. I don't think we were looking at that. And if the board wants us to, we'll certainly look at, more aggressive options on the roof, but I was thinking more along the lines of patching it, making the drainage, improve the drainage and try to increase the flashing. So where we do have penetrations, we're not getting water, and see how we can go, with that type of an approach. I think it buys us time.
Yeah.
So, but I'll certainly listen to anything else that the board, concerns have.
I also think that dedicating someone, a staff member, to pay attention to what's going on up there was just this last storm. We had someone up there and all the scuppers were full of leaves again, which is how the water finds its way off the roof. So you don't have standing water. So it was, it may be an old concept, but it still works as long as things are maintained. So if all the scuppers are full of leaves and debris, then the water's going to find somewhere to go. Just this last one here you just sent us. What was the part about pointing of the bricks you mentioned? Is that where? Where is that? On the inside?
Two sides of the building. I
The clock
guess.
tower. This last proposal here,
Yes.
where are they pointing the bricks? On the inside of it?
On the exterior, one is on the alley. And then the second one is in, I guess,
You got these two behind you?
right, is
You're
in the
looking at
back,
Jones
near the
Brothers
park,
on
in the
clock.
back parking lot.
Huh?
You're looking at Jones Brothers on the clock.
Yeah, these are,
Okay, yep.
yeah, these are two separate estimates
Gotcha.
that
Thank
came
you.
in.
Because this is the one you were questioning the last time about the bricks on this side over here.
Well, we approved it.
Yeah, no.
We approved it.
Never got done.
I still don't think they're in that bad a shape, but it's
The work
2
has not
years
been
later
done.
and was it 40 grand, 35 we approved?
Yeah, something like that.
I'm not sure that the scope, you can see based on these proposals, those numbers aren't close to what was being proposed here. It's less than half that.
South side of the wall of the alley. That'd be the north side near the old Sam's, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
north side.
over here, yeah.
Sam's is over there.
Yeah.
Last time we talked, I had mentioned that the lights seem to have gotten dimmer. And you said maybe you were gonna get Chuck up in there this evening. You can't even see the clock.
Can hardly see the one on the south.
So did something get knocked over, or were we able to investigate a little more?
One of the lights apparently, I think the way that one of the lights I think is out. So that's one of the things that has to get repaired on this estimate.
But that's recent.
That's recent.
Like when I first brought it up, it was the south
Right,
had gotten really dim.
right.
North, east were still quite visible and beautiful. And tonight, you couldn't even see any of them.
No, I think we've lost lights in there and we were trying to mess with, and Chuck didn't get a chance to go up tonight.
Okay. Because I had never seen it, but I've only heard, and it was like paint and light and reflection and stuff doing all the work.
Right.
So I just wonder if something got moved or unplugged, or because something's in there glowing, but it just looks like it's not pointing in the right direction.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I haven't been up there. I'm not familiar with it, but
Me either.
step into the 21st century and stick some LEDs up there of an increased wattage, and I'm sure they'll light that tower right up.
Well, yeah, what was in there was
Gotta
never,
keep that yellow
you want that,
hue.
you want that hue though. I think
Historic.
LED might be a little too bluish. I think people might get upset.
Well, there's different
I know.
levels of,
True.
Well, it was all on the scope of work coming up to
Yeah.
do work in there, but for
Right.
the time being, I felt like something just got knocked over.
yeah, no, it may be. Sounds reasonable.
So
I
we'll
don't
go
know.
back in there and double check to see if anything else has changed. I know the stuff that was originally in there was never meant to be exposed to the, to the weather. So I'm not surprised that stuff might be failing.
Right.
So it has to be updated. But those aren't huge projects to get those things done. The facings of the clock, where we do have some broken pieces on the face of the clock itself, that's a little more expensive, and that's a bigger project. I think we had talked about, if anything, we'll just do some bonding repairs and see if that'll maintain the facing for now. To take those out and try to replace them, I think would be substantial money. I'm not sure that we're talking about that level of investment, not at this point. So, and if you did take it out and, and you broke the thing,
It'd be
Trying
nice
to
if we
take
had
it
some
out.
video too, if Chuck should go up or whoever goes up.
get some cell phone video.
Right, yeah, better than
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah, we'll get the next time we're in there, we'll get some video so we can give you a better sense of what's exactly going on.
Mr. Chairman, I do have another item too. And if we're all done talking about the clock tower, or when we are all done talking about the clock tower,
That was it from what I
Is
had,
it-
so.
Is it pertaining to,
the building.
yep,
It had been mentioned here back shortly after the change of tenure between Harris and then Wise coming on board. I thought it was out of memory, and I'm talking in relation to the heating system and the cooling system. Something strikes in my mind, a $45,000 figure for upgrade or more automation control or computer upgrade.
We had a $20,000 project for HVAC upgrades in this building, which was part of the Ledger grant, so that was submitted and approved
Okay,
through the state. We had a conference call today with some of the folks involved in that, because there has to be some upgrades which were discussed and are not significant in order to get firewalls and servers to accept the information back and forth.
mhm.
So that was discussed today on a conference call, so that hopefully should be done within the next couple weeks.
Okay, and specifically, not to be harsh, but we're probably sitting in here and it's probably, if I'm surprised, 60 degrees
It's been cold in here
or
for a
50.
while.
So why all of a sudden are we having a problem with the heating? Is that related to this control?
Well, we're
Saving
having,
money.
we're having 3 or 4 problems with the heating system. There's a problem with balancing of the tanks, which sometimes turns off one of our burners.
Mhm.
So we have which is not a huge number, but we've got to do some work on that. Then there's a problem with the glycol and the way that the heat circulates based on that glycol. The pump failed. We had it redone. It doesn't seem to be functioning properly, and I don't think it's taking this zone and heating it appropriately.
That button on the fan is off too.
Yes,
Yeah, but does that
because it was
thermostat
blowing
work
cold air,
over there?
basically.
Right, yeah. But I mean, if we got a zone valve problem then, or?
I'm not 100% sure on that
It's
one.
separate.
Right,
It is on the radar.
100%.
Okay.
All right, any other questions? On the town hall roof discussion? No. Moving on to number 6.
Better Places grant.
I need that one too.
Right. So we have had an ongoing conversation, and members of the fire department and members of the staff about putting together some upgrades to the existing parcel next to the old Star Hotel, so it would become more of a memorial park. I know there's been some statuary that's been worked through the fire department. I think they have approved the design. The next thing that we're hoping to do is to give a grant which would help us with some lighting, because we're going to have a flagpole. We're going to have sort of a large tree that'll become something that could be decorated seasonally. So part of our holiday decorating, as well as some other electrical. So if you wanted to have some sort of ceremonies there, you could have some electric available. So if somebody wanted to do a speaker of some sort or some sort of podium with a microphone, we'd have some ability to do all that at that location, to have, appropriate types of ceremonies into the future. A lot of the work in this budget does not reflect substantial amounts of donated labor. We've been told that multiple contractors in town have been in touch with members of the fire department and will be helping to do a lot of the work. So what you see here on this project cost is we're asking for $12,000 in grant funds, which will really just cover the LED lighting, the lighting for the flagpole, the other additional conduit, and then a box to make sure that we can have some sort of electrical available on site. The rest of the materials, there has been monies already donated for the statuary. We have some money in the highway budget put aside if we have to do some additional work for sidewalk and some curbing or some additional asphalt. And then there's only really a few small items in there for landscaping. We're working with a landscape architect. We should have a final rendering of what the park potentially would look like. We spoke last week, so we're hoping to have that soon. And so this project then would go forward with the idea to have the work done over the summer and ultimately then have some sort of dedication or ceremony in time for the 40th anniversary of the fire, which would be December of this year. So that's the rough proposal. I did not include all of the attachments with the application. It goes on for pages. A lot of it is just words that I just have to continue to finalize for Friday. But the piece that was important was the attachment, which is the resolution, which we wanted to include in the packet. And that just, again, recognizes that we'll be requesting the $12,000 for lighting, and that we're hoping to have all of this in place in time to do, have the improvements completed and have this dedicated for the 40th anniversary of that event.
So you want a motion to adopt the resolution? Or do you want to read the darn thing?
I don't think you have to read it all the whereases. I think maybe just a resolution to adopt the resolution would be helpful.
I don't mind reading it. It's not very long, but
Well, if you'd like to read it, that's great.
I don't think you need to.
oh, come on. All right, Mr. Chairman, I would move that we adopt the resolution of support for the Memorial Park at the location of the Star Hotel fire.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to adopt the resolution of support for the Memorial Park. Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 That's great. Thank you, everyone, for your work on that.
And we'll have more reports back to you as we go forward, because I'm sure there'll be some additional outreach to the public for other opportunities for people to participate in this. So
And more fundraising too coming up, I think, too.
I believe so.
And I wonder, so you say there's a meeting Thursday night to discuss further ideas and plans?
I'm not exactly sure. I just got the email this morning, and I'm not sure why it was this Thursday night. I don't know if it
Okay.
deals with,
It's irrelevant to my point of maybe we could present the public some information and
Yes.
and the design and
I'm hoping once we
Where
get
we're
the
at with that
schematic, we
part.
can do something more that we can actually have something that people can visualize.
perhaps gather more support from folks.
That's really the goal, the next
Been
step.
some fantastic donations, both with time and money so far, so that's how things get done typically when everyone comes together. Okay, next,
I think the item that we added, which
Yep.
was the,
number 7, Historic Preservation Committee, appointment.
Mr. Chairman, I'll go ahead and make the motion that we appoint to the Historic Preservation Commission Annette Spalding and Elijah Zimmer to fill the vacant seats.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to appoint Annette Spalding and Elijah Zimmer to the vacant seats on the Rockingham Historic Preservation Commission. Until when? They're appointed when?
so till the town meeting, and at
Right.
that point in time, if you wish to reappoint, then obviously they would be eligible for reappointment.
Any more discussion? All those in favor would signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That
Aye.
motion passes. So we need to review agenda items for our next meeting of February 2nd.
I think the only thing that might be, and Shannon, maybe you can jump on, I think we have to have the town report done and to the printer by the 28th, is that correct?
Yes, and I have, it's in motion. I have almost everything that I need. I've been working and reaching out to those that I don't have, but I think we'll be on time.
So if the board would indulge us, I think what we will do is we will send you a draft prior to sending the draft to the printer on the 28th. And then we'll have something available on the 2nd at that point for
It's in there.
Okay.
any, for just basically for publication purposes, but at least that way you can take a look at it before it goes to the printer, in
Right.
case there's anything that we're like,
Yep.
hold the horses.
And anything else between now and then, we'll get it on there. Need to review agenda items for our next joint board meeting. We don't know when that date is still.
No, I've not set that yet.
Review and approve orders, bills, and warrants.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to review and approve orders, bills, and warrants. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Passes. Other business, Susan,
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Stefan,
Just thank everybody for their work in the budget and the time put in and the extra effort of doing more with less. And so thank you.
Peter.
Yeah, just a question. On my constitutional this morning, I walked up through Morgan's Field and none of the sidewalks are plowed. What's behind that? Not even the side streets, not even on one side.
We missed some places. We had some people on assignment on Saturday that weren't familiar with the routes, and so we had some places. I know we were cleaning up some areas this morning. Andy had sent them back through, so there were a few places missed. I'll double check to see if he got through those later on in the morning.
Yeah, there's a couple of them that have a sidewalk on one side. I think some are at the end there, and then I think Elm Street's got one sidewalk. The
Okay.
rest of them have got doubles, and we only usually plow one, I think. But nothing's been plowed, so you got people that are walking the street.
Yeah, I'll double check with him because they.
I mean, I saw him out with that loader on with the bucket on the new sidewalk machine this morning, picking up piles down by Dairy Joy at the sidewalk. They had the bucket on it. Ben, anything?
No, I'm good.
I have one thing. I don't know if we need to add it to the agenda, but in the previous discussion about the self-driving car,
Mm.
did we need to appoint a member of the select board to be on this informational committee?
Yeah, we had requested that. I think we were trying to set up a meeting with the state folks sometime in February.
Can we
So
appoint someone? Is anyone interested on the select board?
We could
Susan,
do
you
that at your
interested in that?
We could do that at your February 2nd meeting if you'd like.
Okay.
Anybody in particular? So I'm not sure what the level of commitment's going to be.
I am not interested in any way.
Is that a maybe?
Mr. Chairman, can I make one other mention on other business?
Yes, sir.
Just only because on my walk this morning, a citizen mentioned to me that down on the south end of town on Westminster Street, there's a crosswalk that comes across by the end of the parking lot by the credit union. And nobody uses that because it's a private entrance that goes up into the backside of the hospital, that road that comes down there. So people now have to walk along the snowbank, and the way traffic travels down there, they're afraid they're going to get clipped because there's an elderly woman that asked me about that this morning. I don't know why they put the crosswalk there instead of at the joint, the next street down where there is a sidewalk that comes down. Something to look at maybe.
Where?
Yeah, I'm
Down on
trying to-
Westminster Street by the credit union, there's a sidewalk that comes out right by almost the end of the parking lot.
Right.
And that's the road that goes up to the old, what used to be the old Texas nursing home up on top of that big white building up there.
Yep.
It's a private road. It's not
Yeah.
owned by the town. So the next street down goes up to the terrace up there,
Yep.
and that's got a sidewalk coming down it. But there's no crosswalk to get over to the other side of
Okay.
the street.
You're
So-
saying an additional, yeah, I'm
And
not
if
sure.
it's dark, somebody's gonna get clipped. The way traffic blows down through there. Just a point somebody might look at maybe next year or something where we go, I don't know how that's set up down there, but
Yeah. We'll have to
Okay.
look at that one, Peter.
Thank you all. We don't need executive session this evening.
move to adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Good
Aye.
night.